everybody. It is Dean Z speaking to you from Jeffrey's Lounge in Jeffrey's Hall at the University of Michigan Law School. Today, I want to talk to you about personal statements, which is a topic that is perennially of most interest, I think, to applicants who I meet in various situations. So I've covered lots of things about personal statements before in other episodes, but it's a new season. I want to just kind of bring it all together and hit some of the top tips and actually more frame how you should be thinking of it. So there's two elements to a personal statement that makes it successful. The content and the style. I'm going to start with the style because that is incredibly important and also pretty straightforward. Be yourself, right? Do not try to write in a tone or put on a persona or play a role that you think that some, random unknown admissions officer is going to like. Because first of all, admissions officers are all different people, all have different tastes. The chance that you're going to put on a face that everybody likes, it's not too likely, right? And also when you're playing a role, it just doesn't come off as well. It's like I believe that I can really get a sense of that, of the unnaturalness of the voice pretty consistently when I'm reading an essay. And that is actually a comment that my readers will often write, like, the voice sounds unnatural, right? So be yourself. And you might think, nobody's going to like me. We're going to like you. Don't worry. People will like you. But yesterday I had lunch with a friend of mine who used to work for me, who's now a consultant, and he was talking about a client of his who I had not admitted, but had gotten into another really terrific law school. And I said, why do you think I didn't admit him? Because I, of course, did not remember this. I don't actually know the name of it, the person anyway. I said, what do you think? He said, he knows Michigan very well. He knows this other school pretty well. He said, just not a good fit for Michigan, but a great fit for this other, pretty different vibe law school. So just be yourself and you will find, the right home for you, the right law school home for you. And the goal isn't to get into every single law school. It's to get into the law school or law schools that are right for you. And it's hard for you at the point where you're just applying to really have a sense of that. You might have some ideas about where you want to go, but as you go through the process, you will learn a lot more about the school and you will be able to judge whether it's right for you. So right now, just be you. That's my biggest tip. If I didn't have anything else to say, that would be it. Okay, now let's dig into what to say. What you're going to say requires some thinking on your part. There's no automatic answer that everybody should have, right? There's no one experience or one theme that is right for any given candidate. You got to do some work to think, what do I want an admissions office to know about me? You got to do some interior work. Like, why do I think I'd be good at law school? What in my life, what my experiences, what my goals are, things that a law school should be seeking. Why should we like you, right? And you might come up with 4 or 5 possible answers that you're going to, want to mull about, and you got to whittle those down to see, you can't tell us everything, right? It's not going to be a novel. You've got like 2 to 3 pages. So you got to just really focus on the elements that you think are going to be most compelling and that you feel, again, back to being yourself, that you feel are most significant about you. And then you do the work to figure out what in my life illustrates that about me. Mistakes to avoid, though, don't spend your essay talking about someone else. It might be that someone else was a big inspiration for you to go into law school, and that is fine. You could certainly mention other people, that's great, but you are the focus, right? Remember that you have to be the focus. And when you are the focus, of course, you're trying to make a case for yourself. And this is the delicate dance, I think. You have to make a case for yourself without seeming braggy or arrogant, right? So you're selling yourself in one way, but you have to do it in a way, you have to think about your tone and make sure that you are not overdoing it and so forth. And then because you're telling the story that you want to be compelling, you need to make sure there are details in it. It needs to be specific to you, and it needs to be something that really paints a picture of who you are. So it can't be just really sort of the kind of prose that you could give to someone else and have it be true for them too. It's got to be specific to you, and the more details you can put in, the better the picture that gets painted, right? That doesn't mean, sometimes people write in very sort of elaborate, flowery, this is sort of an unnatural voice again, right? It's a formal piece of writing, right? It's not a chat, but it isn't stiff. It isn't, you don't have to write like you're a 19th century English person or something like that, right? So use the language. Don't use words that you don't feel very comfortable with using. Use language that is very similar to what you would use in speaking, but just formalize it a little bit, tighten it up, make sure it's well edited, make sure you aren't jumping around from topic to topic. Again, you got to focus on one or two or three things. It can't be covering every little element of your life. And then importantly, as you're writing it, you have to be remembering, like, what is my goal here? And your goal is to get admitted to law school, and law school in particular, as opposed to any other kind of school. So you've got to be thinking about what are the weaknesses maybe in my application, and how can I address them here in a natural way? Like suppose you came to the idea to go to law school pretty recently. You don't have anything in your background that shows that you've had an interest in law. That's okay, but then you really have to spill out, like, how did I get here? Or suppose it's the opposite. Suppose you have a lot in your background that shows, that you have investigated law. Then you don't have to focus on that as much, and you can be focusing on some other element that maybe is not clear from your application materials. So it's a rhetorical whole, the application, and the personal statement is like the glue that pulls it all together and fills it out. It's not a very good metaphor because it's more than glue, but I don't know. You get the point, right? And now I'm going to answer a few specific questions. I got an email or a couple emails about personal statements in the vlog, so that's great. And I want to address a few of them. So I got questions from Rebecca, who has been out of undergrad for about 5 years or more. And so she was saying, like, what should I be talking about in my personal statement? Would it be better to talk about a work challenge she overcame to show the skills that would make one a successful law student or lawyer? Work experiences, would it be better to talk about that, or about work experiences around law or a specific area of law interest? Or would it be better to talk about something that one feels strongly and passionately about outside of work, like a volunteer opportunity, that shows one as an advocate and shows more of my personality and what's important enough to them that they do it in their free time? Any one of those, the answer is any one of those could be really good, but it really depends on what else is going on in Rebecca's application. So, she's been out of school for 5 years, so I'll see her work experience. If her work experience is, not law, but is what led her to law, that is very fruitful. I really like the idea of focusing on, what you do in your free time to show some personality and, like, give me another glimpse of you. And I also like if there is a specific work experience that really cemented your interest in a particular area of law, also really good. So unhelpfully, Rebecca, I cannot answer your question, but I can say all three of those are potentially fruitful approaches. So you are on the right track. And I hope that gives everyone else watching some ideas of, first of all, Rebecca has clearly been doing the work of thinking about what do I want to say, and she's come up with 3 great topics, 3 great approaches, and there's a lot of flexibility here. People often ask me, are there topics I just shouldn't address because they make you roll your eyes, they've been addressed too often? The answer to that is no. But again, there are some topics that get addressed quite frequently that I think you really have to be making sure you're saying something interesting and new about it. So study abroad is a classic. People often find study abroad a very revelatory experience for them in college. And it is. I get that. I understand why that's an appealing topic. But recognize that lots of people have that experience. And so what happened to you that really made that important? And that's where the interesting details come in, and relating it back to the rest of your application will be important. Bottom line, the personal statement is our opportunity to get to know you. It's like we have a 5 or 10 minute conversation with you. You're introducing yourself to us and making the case for why you should be here. 5 or 10 minutes isn't a super long time, so you really got to focus and edit this down. and make sure you're focusing on the parts that are most compelling. I think trying to tell us your whole life story is perhaps one of the most frequent mistakes I see. And it's painful to cut stuff out often because you feel like, I'm not giving you the whole thing. But if you're telling too much, it obscures everything you're telling and ends up being very counterproductive. Okay, I think that's all there is to say about that for the day. Please send your specific questions if there are any points of clarification. Would love to see that. Thank you to Rebecca for asking all those questions. Also, Patrick was the one who asked about, he asked me a question about topics that I don't think people should cover because they're too frequent. So thank you for writing all those in. If you have other suggestions or thoughts, please put them in the comments or send us an email to law.jd.admissions@umich.edu and put vlog in the subject line. And I have a whole big group of those, and I just got to get myself organized to address some of them. So thank you very much for that. Okay, now, don't think I forgot, because I didn't. Grammar. I asked my team, anything that you guys are seeing that you feel like really needs to be addressed, and a surprising number had noted the same thing, which I hadn't noted, but people apparently use the word weary when they mean either wary or leery. Let me discuss. So the sentence where this comes up a lot is, maybe it means, I am reluctant to take on a lot of debt. Fair. I am too. But they say, I am weary of taking on too much debt. Weary means tired. So I think they mean wary, which means they are, skeptical of it. Beware. That's where wary comes from. They are worried about doing it. Leery means also skeptical, not fully on board. But somehow those two words get combined and the person comes up with weary. And that is not the right word. You are not too tired to take on debt. That's not the problem. You don't want to do it. So be wary of using words that you may not be completely familiar with, and make sure when you're using a word that you really, you're using the right one. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you, as always, for watching. And wherever you go, go blue.